welcome everybody to the Insider's Edge powered by Rocket Recruiting PUBcast. And today we are ecstatic to finally have probably one of our most desired guests we've ever thought about having on the show, the wild, crazy, unbelievably successful John Melton. John, welcome to the show.
What's up? I'm excited to be here.
We are thrilled to have you. I should also preface that by saying John obviously is one half of the incredible power couple, John and Nadia Melton. Our audience, probably all of them know who you are, and probably doesn't need much of an introduction what you guys have done, but you guys have really done a phenomenal job of creating, I guess, a help network, I would say, for network marketers, entrepreneurs to help create a profitable online business around their brand and also around their life. So John, once again, I am thrilled to have you here today, buddy. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here, man. Can't wait to drop some value on your audience.
Excellent, excellent. Well, let's kind of get started right away. We do things a little not different here, but instead of you telling us how successful you are right now, we'll get to that. We kind of like to go back a little bit and show our members, show our audience that everybody had to start at some point. So if you will take a couple minutes, tell us a little bit about what your background, and you can also segment it if you like. If you'd like to tell us about you, maybe up to the part where you met Nadia, and then where you guys kind of got up till now. I'll let you kind of run with what you want to share.
Yeah, sounds good, man. For us, we both at a young age got involved in network marketing. Nadia actually moved here from Russia when she was 16 to go to school. I can't even imagine, because my son is 17. I know your son is 17. Can you imagine like shipping our kids off to like another country? No. To just like live and just survive on their own? Like, it's crazy. And that was back before, technology, social media, smartphones, all the things. But anyway, I digress. She got involved in network marketing in Indiana. I got involved in Maryland, where I still live now. And we ended up having the same upline, actually, in a company called Trek Alliance. That was 20 years ago.
Going old school.
And dude, I was broke, busted, and disgusted, had no background in business, no business being in business. I'd never heard of direct sales. I never heard of MLM, Mary Kay, Amway, Herbalife, prepaid legal, none of it. I just knew that I hated school. I wasn't a fan of like studying and learning about things I didn't care about, taking tests, having to be there super early. I remember when I actually got a job in the mortgage industry, and they said I could come in at like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like, this is like the perfect job for me, because I don't mind working. I just don't want to wake up at the butt crack of dawn. I want to wake up when I'm done sleeping. So anyway, I got involved in network marketing, and I spent more money than I made, but I learned a lot. I learned how to be a professional, how to be a marketer, a communicator. I learned leadership principles. And dude, you know what I needed? I needed personal development. I needed a mentor. I needed someone that was willing to call me out of my BS. And it's interesting, because as much as I would fall asleep in class and not be a good student, when it came to learning about making money and building a business and learning how to sell and learning how to recruit and be a team leader and all these things, like, that stuff I was interested in. I'd take notes. I would do all the things. But the one thing I did not like was public speaking. I had so much insecurity, just no experience, no confidence in it. Like, I was just like, I've never done it. I don't want to do it. And I literally would tell them, I'm not kidding, Jeff. I would tell them, if you try to call me up there, because they would crack jokes like, we're just going to call you in front of the room. I'm like, if you try to call me up there, I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to walk out. I'm going to walk out, because I was such a red, I'm 20, 21. Like, I'm just aggressive as all get out. And they would try to get Nadia out of the Indiana office. She'd call me on the phone. Oh, how's it going? Her Russian accent, not as thick these days, right, baby? But
trying to tempt you in.
Right. But she'd try to talk to me about it. And I caught on to them. I'm like, look, you can try to, I'm not going to do it. Like, and I, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm not going to do it until I want to do it, until I'm ready. And eventually, you know what it was? I had a guy on my team. And I remember sitting there while he's doing the presentation. He's on my team, and he's doing the presentation. I'm like, dude, what am I doing? And somebody had said at an event, because it was months of me, like, I wouldn't even do a testimonial. Oh, wow. And there was a guy in front of the room that said, the person in front of the room makes the most money. And I'm like, gosh, all right, fine. I'm going to figure this out. Yeah. So eventually I got over my fear of public speaking, and it was really, really, really hard for me in the beginning. Like I'd black out, my knees are like shaking, and it's just brutal. But it's interesting, now that's like one of the things I'm best at, right? Is speaking and training. And it's funny how like the thing you're afraid of is actually the thing that's gonna like help you grow the most. And I'm just grateful that I had the courage to do it. I didn't have confidence, but I had courage. And it was something that just helped me have success sooner than I probably would have. It's all those little decisions, right? Good and bad, that shape our life. And I will say that first company went out of business, but I met Nadia, right? That in itself was worth it. And then my father died, unfortunately. We were living in Colorado at the time because we were trying to build this other business. The first one got shut down. And then she got pregnant with our son, Dylan, right? Who's, like I said, now 17. But we decided, because I knew I wanted to be close to family in Maryland and that we wouldn't be able to raise my son. We were 23. I mean, we were freaking young. Right, so we're like, we're not going to be able to raise a kid and, do all these things on our own. And I need to get a real job. And what sucked was I couldn't get a job in Colorado because I didn't have a college degree. Like none of these mortgage companies would hire me. They hired Nadia, and I'm like, dude, not having Nadia work. I'm like, what am I going to do? Wait tables? Like, be a loser? So, because I was waiting tables and I felt like a loser. So I was like, I don't want to do that anymore if we're having a kid. So we moved back to Maryland, and actually a buddy of mine, check this out. So I haven't told this story in a while. So actually this dude, his girlfriend had her resume on Career Builder. So we invited her to a meeting. She signed up, brought her boyfriend. He didn't sign up, but he was like supportive. And I remember him because he was cool, he was young, and he was driving an Escalade. And I'm like, and I find out he dropped out of college just like me. And he was like, dude, you'd crush it in mortgages. But I'm like, yeah. I'm not going to get no real job. I'm building a downline. I'm building a business. Then when my company got shut down, I was like, yo, Tom, remember that mortgage thing you said you do? I don't know what a mortgage is, but like, I want to make money. And so he got me a job off a referral, because I couldn't have got a job without a college degree because I was a community college dropout. Go figure. First year, I made $125,000. I was the rookie of the year. The second year, I was the #1 loan officer in a very large company, Baltimore. Third year, I got back into network marketing, 2006. Again, #1 loan officer in the whole company, like outsold everybody. And ironically, the guy that got me the job went and started his own company. And my best friend, who got me into network marketing, got a job with Tom. And the two of them started out in a company called ACN. And this is 2006. And I'm like, whoa, I introduced you to. I'm like, that ain't happening. I'm like, Callahan, you put me in the system and you put Tom under me. And that's how I got back into network marketing. I like FOMO'd myself. So I got back in, and, I did that for a couple of years. And then 2008, the crash happened, as everybody remembers the crash. And one of my really good friends actually committed suicide from high school. And I was just like, you know what, dude, I'm going to quit drinking. I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to go all in with network marketing. And I have not had a real job since 2008, since I fired my boss, became a full-time network marketer. And like I said, it's been little decisions. When my dad died of a heart attack, I quit smoking. When Jeremy died of suicide and he had a drug issue, I haven't drank alcohol since then. And not only has network marketing been the best business decision I've ever made, but deciding to quit, some of my bad habits and becoming, again, and I shouldn't say again, because you and I talked about this before the podcast and went live, becoming the best version of myself made me a better father, a better husband. I'm definitely not perfect, but I am way better off than I would have been if I would have kept down the path I was on. I mean, trouble was my middle name. I mean, drunk, punk, loser, got in tons of fights, expelled my senior year for fighting. I went to jail for second-degree assault for a fight that I got in. Like, I was in a very bad environment. And my parents were the best. I mean, it's not like I had a bad upbringing. I was just a punk. You know what it was? I heard Grant Cardone say this one time. He goes, I wasn't bad, I was bored.
Oh my gosh, that is so. You said a couple of things that I want to, number one,
Yeah.
thank you for, because it's something that's come up with a lot of our audience. You said how you were horrible getting on camera, being public speaker.
Yeah.
You did it. We had one of our members, great member, and we were on with a lady that's a master NLP, 30-year practitioner. And we, at this point, let some of our members ask questions. And he said, how do I get my team? And I hope he doesn't get mad for letting me use his example. How do I get my team to get on Facebook Lives? I understand how important they are, and they will just not get on it. And I think he was expecting, a really tactful answer on how to do it. And she said, don't get them on Facebook Lives. If they don't want to get on there, they're fearful of it. There's something that they're afraid of. And so instead of pushing them out to do something that they don't want to do, figure out what it is that they're fearful about, and then kind of try to work them in. But what I love about you sharing that story is, you'd watch you online right now, and nobody would believe there was ever a time when you didn't like to public speak.
People never believe it. They're like, you're lying. I'm like, all right. They're like, I'm like, ask Nadia. And Nadia's like, oh, babe, he was so bad. He just wouldn't do it. Yeah.
Did you get so good at it? I mean, we'll talk a little bit about, I've watched a lot of your lives and want to talk about a couple of those things, but was it all of a sudden you realized when that guy said, hey, the guy that's in the front of the room, the guy that's on camera is making the most money? And did it just snap at that point? You're like, I've got to be on camera.
No, it was one of those things where, like, you keep having those inner conversations, and you sit through enough of that stuff, and you're just like, gosh, I'm gonna have to get up there. And even, what's crazy, dude, even when that company went out of business and I kind of stopped doing it because I got out of the industry, right? For like 2 years, I was just doing mortgages. When I got back in, it just was still there. It was like, so it was hard for me even when I got back into network marketing, and ACN was so old school, offline, nothing against them, but man, that was just a brutal build because you were out doing meetings. They were just so anti-technology, anything but like physically sitting down with people. So I remember I went to a convention and they were like, look, like, you got to get in front of the room if you haven't already. And the sooner you do it, the sooner you start building your team, creating success. Because the truth is, if you build a huge team and then you start trying to speak in front of the room, they're going to be like, wait, what? That's my leader? Like, it's good to get in front of the room now and suck at it before you have a big team. But he said, listen, you got to go back and just tell people, we need to talk.
Right.
Start reaching out to people saying, we need to talk. And you know what I would do? I would go out, because the real reason people don't want to do public speaking, they don't know what to say. They don't want to mess up. They're worried they're going to, like, I know this because this was me. I'm like, what if I go up there and I make a fool of myself? I don't have a great vocabulary. I'm not that smart. Like, this is all like the stinking thinking. And especially back then, before I'd done all the personal development and 20 years in, speaking and all the things, like, I just didn't want to be made fool of and embarrass myself. And then also, I didn't feel like I knew what to say. Like, if you know exactly what to say, it's not a big deal. Right. But that's why when I got back into network marketing that second time around, and even though, again, the fear was there of like public speaking, I started doing one-on-one presentations. And the more I did the one-on-one presentations, and it was all like memorized, and it was so automatic. And then of course I sat through other people's presentations enough that when I started getting back in front of a group of people, 4, 5, 10, 20 people, it's like, even if I was scared prior to getting up there, like the anticipation, the anxiety, as soon as I started talking, it went away. And it was like, I could not have been more comfortable in front of a room. And when it was, up to 100, 200, 400, 900, it's like, I just wasn't nervous anymore because I knew exactly what I wanted to say. And the only times now I really get nervous, I would say, is when it's like thousands and thousands. Like if it's like 5,000, 10,000 people, I'm definitely, those fears and nerves are definitely going to come back. Sure. But again, the good news is, because I've done it so many times, I know once I get up there, a lot of that goes away. As long as I got my glass of water and I got my slide deck, I'm good.
You're good. You're golden. I'm reminded of what Todd Falcone says this all the time, and I think it's so true, and it might relate to how people get the confidence. He said, competence equals confidence.
100%.
And I think as that relates to getting online, like you said, I remember when I first started jumping, I was the opposite way. I was like, hey, I'm smart. I know I've got big vocabulary words, and I looked like I was a guy selling insurance on there, but I was trying to make sure that I said the right word, used the vocabulary word that maybe people had to look up. And I remember my wife sat down with me and watched it, and she's like, wow, babe, you're boring. And so I thought to myself, I've got to retool this. But like you said, once you know you have that base, you're competent and it gives you confidence. If you know what to talk about, then you can get up and talk about it. It's just a matter of pulling your craft. And I think that's really important, especially now. 20 years ago, your belly to belly, it didn't matter how you spoke. Look at my pitch deck, look at my notebook. Now, I really don't think you can be successful, and we could talk about this later, if you don't have the ability to get on camera, on video, and talk to your people. I think that is so critical what we're doing now to be successful in network marketing or as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Oh, it's so much easier too. It's like, what is your excuse now? Like, to not build a business. I mean, literally, I'm in my bedroom right now doing this. I mean, we're spoiled. Like I sometimes think about like, what if like the whole like lockdown, shutdown, COVID thing would have happened like 10, 20 years ago? Like, what the heck would we have done? Especially network marketers. Like, the only way we could build our business. I mean, I guess we probably would have figured out a way to do like phone presentations, but I really feel like as I know a lot of people obviously were impacted by this, and it people lost their jobs and businesses got crushed and all that. But at the same time, thank God we have technology. At least it's like there are alternatives and you can pivot.
Right. Well, and I think what's important too, and what we can maybe kind of transition into now is, like you talked about, it used to all be belly to belly. You're in a coffee shop, you're doing opportunity meetings, you're in a hotel ballroom. And I really love about your story. You're like, we're really successful, but boy, we felt that we were kind of moving away from the family that we were creating and that lifestyle that we wanted to create. And technology certainly helped that. I think the pandemic, we had Diane Hockman on last week, and she said, one thing that I don't think people realize is, since the pandemic happened, there are a lot more opportunities now online than there were before. And a lot of people, I don't think understand that, but as you guys started to transition your business, as you started to say, listen, I don't like being out till midnight, I don't like being away from my family, what were some tactical steps that you decided to take? And how did you decide to even take those to go from, hey, we can't do this anymore, we've got to realign with what we want? I mean, walk me through that process, what decisions you made to really help you take your business from offline to more of an online type of business.
One of the other best decisions we ever made was 2013. We started paying close attention to the Gary Vaynerchuks, the Ray Higdons, the Mike Dillards, anybody that was teaching and preaching attraction marketing, build your personal brand, content creation. I didn't know, again, just like anything else, right? I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I don't know what's going to happen here, but I knew I didn't want to do home meetings. My back was against the wall. I started feeling like a bad dad. And I'm like, I don't even want to be rich if I'm going to have to sacrifice fatherhood. Like, it's just, I'm not going to do that. And it was probably 2012, 2013 that I started doing videos, and I'd post them up on Facebook. Like I was like, I'm going to be a vlogger. I didn't know what that meant, but I started posting up these little videos. Actually, I think it was February 2013. I remember I talked about this a couple of years ago, and it was like, these short little videos where I just like share some tips, what I'm doing, day to day. And I have to say that for some reason, it didn't scare me that much, because I think it was kind of like, you post it and it's just like, whatever happens, happens. I'm just sharing what I'm doing. I'm sharing some tips. Like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I knew I didn't want to keep doing what I was doing the way I was doing it. And I like the idea of attracting people to me and building a following. I didn't know what that was going to look like, but dude, my upline was brutal. And the company I was in, ACM, they were so against it. And I hate to name drop companies, but it just is what it is. I already started it. So they just were very against it. And it wasn't just them. It was like, even like the Eric Worreys, like there was a lot of like generic trainers that were like, social media doesn't duplicate and all these things. And I'm like, well, here's what I know. I don't want to do it the old school way. And even though everybody's saying this is wrong, isn't it about talking to people about products and opportunity? Well, I have already recruited people from like Career Builder, Monster Jobs, Craigslist, MySpace. I recruited my first person on social media in 2006 off MySpace. So it wasn't until 2013 I started becoming a content creator and learning how to market myself. And I don't remember where I first started learning the stuff. I know Ray was definitely one of the early, trainers on this, but it's like, so many network marketing companies teach network prospecting, network spamming, network pitching. They teach you how to do meetings and presentations, but they don't actually teach you anything about marketing, especially back then. Marketing is like a big part of selling. If you think about it, like most companies have a marketing plan in place, but in network marketing, there's not a lot of marketing nowadays, maybe, but definitely not 2013.
Right.
And marketing consists of you generating leads, you getting people to just raise their hand. What is it? Tell me more. What's the product? What's the company? How much is it? Like, it's just getting people to raise their hand. And as much as I love teaching prospecting and selling and follow up and closing, I would rather someone comes to me. And we have built a multi-million-dollar business. I don't want to be braggadocious, but we're in the top 100 income earners in the entire network marketing industry. And a big part of that is because in 2013, we decided to start building a brand, generating leads, learning attraction marketing, putting out content that we thought could help people. And because we were helping people, we started to elevate our credibility. More people found us, started following us, sharing our stuff. We looked like an authority, an expert. And just over time, we built a team that, like, last year we did 63 million in sales. This year we'll blow past 80 million in sales. 6 years in a row, our business has grown, and our business is built 100% online. We have a full-blown online duplication system in place to help someone build their business without leaving their house. And we had that way before COVID. So when COVID hit, our business went through the roof. Right. We started having more success than we've ever had. And I think more people now are using social media and using technology and the internet to build their businesses. But even prior to COVID, there were still a lot of companies and leaders just chirping and talking smack, like that stuff won't last. It doesn't duplicate. Well, guess what? Now they're all using social media, Zoom. They're not doing what they used to do. There's not one, even the old school companies, the oldest of old, the Amways, even they've had to learn how to leverage technology and social media to build their businesses because they just couldn't rely on the old school way of doing things anymore.
It went even Eric Worre, who would look, like you said, was one of the, not the enterprise, but he's completely changed and shifted now with
100%
studio. John, you hit on something that I want to talk about a little bit better, and that is marketing. I think a lot of people think, hey, I'm in a 9-to-5 job. I've been in sales. I know how to sell. I mean, I could sell anything to anybody. So naturally, I can sell a product no matter what it is because I'm in sales. And so they maybe have a side hustle where they start to get into network marketing and start to find out, holy cow, I don't know how to sell. What happened to my knowledge base? And I think the key is what you said is it's not about selling, it's about marketing. And so many people, we like to call it network marketing 1.0 was, here's my product, buy it, you'll love it. Here's the comp plan, you're going to max it out. And that really all people were selling. And so it's so easy to object to those. Network marketing 2.0 is you're showing, you're serving, you're marketing. And I think truly people that have been successful, even pre-COVID, are marketers and understood the power of marketing. Attraction marketing has the word marketing in it. So obviously marketing is a good part of that. What do you think is one of the hardest things for people to understand about attraction marketing? Because you hear it all the time. You can't get online without somebody say, here's my attraction marketing course. And I don't.
Well, I do think part of the downside is that you get a lot of noobs, a lot of newbies that are trying to be like marketers and attraction. And as much as I love attraction marketing, I'm also a big fan of curiosity marketing. Yes. So when a new person is getting started, we have a whole system on how they launch their business, create curiosity so they can create some conversations. Now, of course, we're still teaching them to be proactively reaching out to people, but there's nothing better than someone coming to you. But in the beginning, I don't think someone should start branding themselves. I think that's something they should do after they launch their business. But most of the people that are probably going to listen to this podcast are probably going to say, well, I've been with the same company for a year or 2 or 5, I'm struggling or I'm not generating leads, but they're also probably not creating content. And it's so funny because nowadays it's not like a mystery what people are doing anymore. You just look up your top producers, look up the top earners in your company. And you got to be careful though, because on the flip side, I tell you to do that. But in some companies, those top earners, they are infomercials. They are very spammy. but they're already at the top of the pyramid. They're already at the top of the deal, right? They're already got this massive team, so they can say whatever they want, but what they're saying is not duplicatable. So in our organization, 85% of our revenue comes from customers. So if we do 5, 6, 7 million in sales for the month, the majority of that is from customers. And the majority of that is coming from a lot of people that are just promoting products on social media, leading with the product, talking about the products, the benefits of the products, telling stories about the products. So they're creating curiosity around the products without saying the name of the company. Now, the only time they will say the name of the company on Facebook or Instagram is one-on-one conversation for the most part. But on TikTok, you have to be a little more transparent because you're going to get in front of a lot more strangers and random people. But I've literally had people consistently do 20, 30, 40, 50,000 a month in sales, personal sales through marketing on TikTok, marketing on social media. TikTok's been game changing. I mean, it's probably been a year. It was since like last October that we started using TikTok, and not just using it for ourselves, because Nadia and I always want to lead by example and make sure something works for us before we teach our teams. But I had people that, quite frankly, Jeff, they weren't very successful with, selling products and, they were just like, mediocre to low level, marketers, builders, sales, numbers were not really that, but then they started using TikTok and they went, and you start seeing people that have never been on a leaderboard, that have never been a top earner, top producer. They're like dominating. You're like, whoa, what's happening here? And then we just started studying it and figuring out what they were doing. And they were not just doing like attraction marketing where they're just like leading with value and telling stories and entertaining and educating and empowering. They were literally selling their product. They were promoting their product before and afters. They were jumping on trends, but then like using the product as the thing that they were promoting to get people to say, what is it? What does it cost? Then they would go live on TikTok. And literally some of these people, I'm telling you, bro, it's crazy. They would sell like 10,000 in 2 hours of product. Oh my gosh. And I'm like, wait, what? So of course started getting my attention. And I'll tell you this, it's not as good as it was just a year ago because there was just less people on there that were selling product. And then TikTok came out and they're like, no more MLM, but still a lot of my top people are selling over there. You have to be a little more strategic now and not be so salesy. But at the end of the day, you've got to promote your product. But if all you do is promote your product and the majority of what you're doing is selling and pitching, you're probably not selling anything because you come off as having commission breath. So there is a like an art and science to it, right? Because like the way you and I would promote would be different than the way maybe a woman would promote or someone that's lost a lot of weight. They have their own success story versus maybe somebody else that's been with the company a while and they're a top earner. Maybe they're leading with more mindset and business training and content around making money. And so everyone has to figure out like their niche or like their personality and how they want to show up and what they want to do. But there's just so many ways to now, build that community and build that following. And you got to find a way that you can show up, lead with value in a relatable way. Sometimes I see people and you can just tell they're fake. Like they show up on social media and you're like, oh, that's just like, I've talked to that person. That's not how they talk. Like you want to be you, but be you times 2 and be more creative. And I know for some people that are going to listen to this and be like, oh my gosh, this guy's overwhelming me. Like, I don't know how to do that. Well, you better learn because if you don't learn, you can't teach it. And if you can't teach it, you're going to have a whole bunch of teams and people in your team that are just trying to like promote products and they're just trying to prospect. Meanwhile, that is something that's like very like low level compensation. Like that's not going to make you the big bucks. At some point with this era of social media, you've got to learn how to build a brand, how to create curiosity, how to kind of like, intertwine the two together so that you can have different ways that people can succeed, whether they're doing it through Facebook groups, Instagram Reels, hashtags, Facebook stories, Facebook Live, TikTok. I mean, there's not just this one way to do it anymore. And I think some people, they get overwhelmed by that because there are so many different ways.
That's
So
actually,
I say master one thing at a time,
okay.
and then move on to something else. And then as you're figuring out what works best for your team, your company, your product, you can start to teach your teams. And then eventually, this is the key, is you start creating success stories. And you say, here's what Amanda's doing on TikTok and Instagram. Here's what, Jen is doing to build a huge customer base. And you start having others share what's working for them. And that way, it's not just this one way. The one thing I couldn't stand about old school offline building is it was like my upline and the company I was in, it was like my way or the highway. It's like, there's just this one way to do it. And for a while there, I believed that. And then eventually I came to realize that, yeah, there's one way to do it for you, but that's not how I want to do it. And I'm not going to tell someone that they can't use YouTube or they can't use Facebook. I'm just going to say, here's the pros and cons, here's the different options, and then do my best job to coach them through that, so that whatever platform they're using, and whether they're leading with product or leading with the business or they're branding themselves, whatever, I can kind of navigate them through what the best ways to go about doing it are, so they can get results, and most importantly, duplicate those results.
So how would you, I love that you said that. We get a lot of questions from our audience, and we talked about this with some interviewers, what social media platform is the best to use? And, I don't think there's an answer to that. I think that is, who are you? What are you good at? What do you like to do? And so what would be a great piece of advice then to somebody, let's say, now, if you're 21 years old, you're going to understand what TikTok is because you're using it every darn day. If you're 50, like myself, you're going to say, TikTok, what is that? And so that might not be where somebody maybe in my age demographic wants to jump into right away. Does it matter? And I don't want to say age.
There's so many variables, right? Like someone gets started and they have experience and they have credibility and they have influence. That's a different conversation than someone that has no experience, no credibility, a crap warm market, right? They should probably get on TikTok or a platform that can get them in front of a cold audience. And look, if someone gives me the excuse, like, I don't like TikTok, I'm like, I didn't like it either until I used it. And then I ended up realizing how powerful of a tool it is. And there's like literally grandmas and grandpas on there that are hilarious, that are in like their 80s. So in the beginning, it was definitely more of a young person's platform. And I know this because my kids have been on it longer than anybody I know, right? But at this point, 50% of the users are over the age of like 30 or 40 years old. There's some stat out there like that. And the truth is, like, I've had people that were like literally anti-TikTok in the beginning, and they saw all these other teams crushing it, and they're like, fine. And they got on it. Like Jordan Levesque, she's a rock star. You should interview her because she's got a great story. But she saw all these other people crushing it. And I think at this point, she probably has more followers than just about anybody in all of network marketing on TikTok. She's got about 700, 800,000 at the time of this podcast. And dude, she got on it 6 months ago and was like, she goes, I'm more of a long form speaker. Like, I like doing videos, live videos. And I'm like, look, I'm the same way, but you can't ignore the power of TikTok. You just got to keep it short and get to the point. And you know what? You don't have to cram everything into one video.
Right.
So anyway, she started doing these little 1-minute videos, telling her story, sharing tips, sharing how she lost weight. And dude, 700,000 followers, like in 6 months. Good luck trying to do that on TikTok or Facebook or really YouTube or any platform.
No way.
But that's what's possible on that platform for anyone that says, oh, I don't have an audience or my warm market sucks. But like I said, it depends. I mean, you're going to get people on your podcast. You're going to say cold market prospecting is the way to go. You other people that say cold market is spammy. You're going to get your account shut down. You need to learn attraction marketing. You know, other people on here that are like, you got to start your own blog. You got to get YouTube channel. Like, there's so many ways to do it. And my thing is, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm going to show you what others are doing that's working, what I have done that's worked. Right. But it doesn't mean there's just this one way. So I think if someone has a warm market, they're comfortable with Facebook, they're getting results. I mean, that's still my number one platform. But I've also put the most time and effort into that platform, and I'm making hundreds of thousands a month. I don't need to generate leads from complete strangers. But if I was saying, hey, I lost my entire warm market, I got to start from scratch, TikTok would be the best platform because it's easier to get in front of a cold audience. Even with how many people are on there at this point, it's still easier for someone to build up a following and generate leads and even sales on there from complete strangers. I can't remember, Jeff, the last time I had a complete stranger buy my product or, buy my, well, actually, that's not true with my courses, but you get what I'm saying. It's like,
Right.
It's very rare that somebody gets a complete stranger that comes to them on some of those other platforms when they're brand new, where again, on TikTok, here's how you know. If you scroll on TikTok, you're going to notice you don't know most of those people.
Right.
If you scroll on Instagram and Facebook, those are mostly people you're following or you're friends with that you already know. So, and I'll tell you this too, and this is something I'm getting excited about. Facebook Reels are coming out. Some of my people already have it. And I don't know how big that's going to be, but my guess is it's going to be huge.
Pretty big.
And the people that already know how to do those short form videos are the ones that are going to capitalize.
Wow. So they're going to be able to transition right into that. It makes sense what you talk about TikTok. You hear all the time, when you want to sell your product, go where there's most buyers. And it seems like on TikTok, there are a tremendous amount of buyers that you just don't get on Instagram or on Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah. And people buy stuff on Facebook and Instagram, but they buy from people they already know. They buy it from an influencer. So that's what's so funny. It's like, I've got all these social marketers on my team that people are like, well, I'm not an influencer like Jordan. I'm like, dude, she just downloaded the app like 6 months ago. She wasn't an influencer. 6 months ago, she was talking smack about TikTok. I'm like, and guess what? I was talking smack a year ago. So, it's just funny that I have so many people that are now on there. And it's funny, Jeff, they'll be like, oh, I'm struggling on TikTok. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, I only have 10,000 followers, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, how is 10,000 followers not a lot of followers now?
Totally.
What does this world come to? Back in the day, it was make a list of 100 people and people are struggling to write down 15, 20 people to prospect. Now it's 10,000 followers. I'm struggling. I'm like, 10,000 people. Are you kidding me? Anyway.
It's nuts. If you think about my son too, I mean, not to digress, but my son's on social media, obviously, and his accounts, I mean, I look like I just started yesterday when I look at accounts, but he's the same thing. And it's interesting how society, the way that you build credibility now, unfortunately, online is through your audience, through your followers. And that equals
how many views are you getting?
Yeah.
How many comments? Yeah.
It's
but
really,
that's what it is. Yeah.
It is. And so, okay, let's fast forward now. So you and Nadia have this great academy, my Lifestyle Academy, that is designed to do a lot of the things that you're talking about. So talk to me a little bit about, number one, what was the inspiration, I think, behind creating this? And what was the end goal that you were looking for with creating my Lifestyle Academy? What was the onus of creating this, and what do you want to achieve with it?
Well, there was two reasons. One, now there's more than two reasons, but from a business standpoint, it was okay, let's build our own personal brand, our own community, so that we can, build up a following of network marketers and online entrepreneurs and provide value to them so that they either engage with our content, they share our content, they're following us, and then down the road, they'll buy a course, they'll buy coaching, they'll, whatever. We promote, some event, right, that we're an affiliate of. Like recently we were promoting Ray Higdon's Rank Makers Live, or we're promoting this this Rob Sperry launch. I can't remember what he's launching, but Marina Simone. Anytime someone's launching something, we can be an affiliate. We can go out there and promote Shalene Johnson's programs, Tanya Liza, whoever. And it's cool because whether we're selling our own stuff or someone else's stuff, it's always going to be stuff we believe in that's going to help that network marketer build the business they're in currently. But then on the flip side, of course, it was to generate leads for my network marketing business. I'm still building a network marketing business, but I'm also building a brand. And people are like, how do you keep the two separate? It's it's no different than if you're, a restaurant owner, you own 6 different restaurants. There's just different businesses, right? It's just you're running different businesses. I wanted to create multiple streams of income. And, the one thing that I remember they were teaching early on about building a brand, building an email list, building a following is that, if you have a list of a following, an audience that trusts you, you'll never worry about money again. You'll never have to worry about money again. If you have a loyal audience, a loyal, follower base of people that just they're hey, we know that what you share is valuable, or it's entertaining, it's whatever. And because we trust you and we respect you, we're gonna, at some point, we're gonna either, buy something from you or join you, or, maybe share your stuff with someone else. And by the way, your mindset should be, and I hope everybody appreciates this, that if they never buy anything from you, who cares? Like, the fact that like they're paying attention to you out of all the people they could be paying attention to, that in itself is awesome. So don't discredit a like, a comment, a follower, because you're like, well, I mean, I don't get that many likes. It's like, but do you get any? Well, I don't get that many comments. Do you get some? Like, well, yeah. Like, okay, well, do you engage with those people? Do you build relationships with those people? It's like, it's just funny how, again, it's like the 10,000 follower joke I just said. It's like, I'm struggling. Like, Jordan's killing it. I only have 10,000 followers. Like, 10,000. There's 10,000 lives that you could change. Like, what a horrible mentality to be like, I only got 98 views on my video. It's like, there's still 98 people. Like, if you had 98 people at your house right now and you were speaking about something and they were sitting there listening, I'd be overwhelmed by that. I'd be like, what's 98 people? Oh, freaking people. So we've become a little spoiled in this day and age that, like, unless we're like an influencer and like we have thousands of people watching our stuff, that like we're not doing a great job, when the truth is, even if it's just, one comment on a post or a video, that's still better than nothing. I mean, that's still one person that like took the time to comment on your stuff.
Right.
And what if that one person was, as Nadia will always say, what if that one person was like Oprah Winfrey? You just never know who's watching. Yep. You never know who's going to follow, who's going to engage. And this is why also, this is like a ninja tip. When I get new followers, when I get friend requests, I message as many of them as possible. And people are shocked by it. They're like, the fact that I have time to even message them, that I take the time to wish happy birthdays and all these things. But then there's a lot of people that also get it. They're like, I understand why you're successful. They're like, you haven't missed a birthday in 6 years. They're like, I miss your birthdays, John, but you don't miss mine. And you make way more money than me. And I'm like, you're right. So again, it's kind of like I said earlier, right? It's like, are you interested or are you committed? Because if you're just interested, you're never going to be successful in anything you do.
Right.
You got to get committed.
I love that point. It's also funny how numbers have gotten skewed. Like you talked about, like I only have 10,000 followers. 10,000 followers in an auditorium where you get to speak is mind-blowing. I mean, people would kill for that opportunity. But on the other hand, on social media, it's just a representation of a number. And I think the opportunity of those numbers is what's kind of been lost in the translation.
It's really just a matter of perspective, right? Yeah. People need to maintain humility and perspective. Like, dude, I was just doing a training today. And someone's like, oh, I only have like 300 friends. Because all these people are like 1,200, 1,900. I was asking, how many friends do these people have on Facebook? This one person like, I only have 312 or whatever. Right. And it's just like, dude, that's still 300 people. Like, I just can't even imagine how long that would take to like reach out to every one of them and have a conversation. Like, even if you did 10 a day for a month, you still would have 12 people you have not reached out to.
That's
right.
True.
It's just funny how we just think differently now, because there's so many people that have thousands of friends or tens of thousands of followers or hundreds of thousands or millions, that we think the number we represent is a low number, when the truth is, if you were to start out with a list of 312 people 20 years ago when I got started network marketing, we would be drooling. We'd be foaming at the mouth like, oh my gosh, I just signed up this guy, Jeff. He's got a list of 312 people. Dude, this is crazy. Like, right? Yeah, back in the day, it was like, if you made a list of 312 people, we'd be like, that's a lot of people.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. I got two more questions I want to ask you, and then we'll get ready to wrap this up in the interest of time. I love that what you and Nadi talked about on your Lifestyle Academy, but also as a philosophy. And you said there's 2 techniques or 2 levels that you need to understand when you go into network marketing. You got to have a solid outer game, talking about tactical things, systems, processes, but you also have to have a stellar inner game. Talk to me a little bit about how have you improved your stellar game, and more importantly, as people come to you and Nadia to consume your content, and then maybe even make a further commitment to have some coaching or learn from you guys outside of just the content, how do people work on their stellar inner game? And why is that something in network marketing that's kind of a sub training instead of something that most people lead with?
When I first got started in the industry, they said network marketing is personal development with a compensation plan attached to it. So it's like, the better you get, the stronger your mindset is, the more successful you'll be. And it's true in anything. Like if you look at like, what is it? Like the average CEO reads like 60 books a year or something crazy like that.
Right.
And then we're like, jealous, like, oh, I'm so envious of this person. Like they're so successful. They're so rich. And it's like, yeah, because they spend more time educating themselves and you spend more time entertaining yourself, right? Most people are broke because they spend most of their time watching shows, playing games, going to the bar, like doing things that don't actually give them a better life. Mm-hmm. And I think it's because, it's not that hard to work out every day. It's really not. It's not that hard to eat healthy. It's not that hard to read a book or listen, but it's easier not to. So right. In those early years, thank God I didn't make the money I'm making now in the early years. Like if I would have made a lot of money early on, that would have been horrible. Now I didn't think that at the time. I'm like, oh, this fucking money sucks. Like, I'm spending more than I'm making. I don't want to wait tables, but I needed to go through. I had to embrace the suck. Like I needed to go through the adversity and the challenges, like all the things. I mean, I got sued by a company. I mean, we had companies shut down on us. My last company, Vima, they were shut down by the FTC. Like that sucked, right? But the truth is, the reason you have to have such a strong mindset, because you're going to fail your way to the top. Like anyone that's successful in anything fails more times than they succeed. But because we see these people that are on the stage and they're getting highlighted and recognized, we're seeing them in their winning season. We don't know what they lost in their losing season. Right. So you got to be careful not to compare your chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to their chapter 10, 15, 20, because like if you compared yourself to me today, I'm gonna smoke you. But if you would compare yourself to where I was, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, like you'd be looking pretty good. Like I had somebody the other day, they're like, I can't believe like I've been doing this 4 years. I'm still part-time. I'm just, they're frustrated, which by the way, you're human, you're going to get frustrated. It just is what it is. But I said, look, it took me 7 years to become a full-time network marketer. She's like, yeah. Like, yeah. So are you better than me? Are you better than me? She's like, well, no, but, she's like backpedaling. I'm like, well, by year 4, I was still part-time, just like you. So are you really going to think like 15 years from now, even 5 years from now, like when you're a full-time network marketer, a top earner, you're getting all this, do you really think you're going to look back and be like, gosh, those first 4 years, man, like, I'm still upset about that. No, I don't even think about that anymore. Like I actually laugh about it. I'm like, I was so bad. Like even my videos from like 5 years ago, I watched them and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm like literally doing a video while I'm driving. Like so dumb. I got like the phone down here. I'm driving. Like it's, actually my very early videos, I'd be holding the camera, obviously not looking at the phone, but like I'm holding it like right here.
Oh my God.
See up my nostrils. Like
flattering you, right?
Yeah. So, at the end of the day, like I said, you got to embrace the suck. You're not going to be good at this in the beginning. And that's where it's hard for people. Like people are embarrassed to start small and to not be good at something. I swear my daughter's in the room right now. And I swear that's why she doesn't play a sport, because like she doesn't want to not be good at something. Right. It's like, we're all human. It's like, we just don't want to embarrass ourselves or look dumb. But this is why the inner game is so important, because the outer game, learning all the skills, but you lack courage, confidence, competence, right? Like you're not like working on you, then it doesn't matter how hard you work your business. You're not going to be successful if you don't get your head right.
I love that. And I think that that's I think that more and more people in your position, Nadia's position, are putting that out in front of their training, and people are starting to realize that. And it's absolutely critical. I think understanding a strong inner game. In fact, it also makes your outer game a little bit easier when you have that confidence,
oh, dude,
that trust in yourself.
No doubt.
You're able to learn quicker. You're able to pick things up better. And so I love that you guys lead with that. And it's something that you put out there. I love that you said about your daughter too. My son is the same way. It frustrates my wife and I to no end. If he can't figure out how to do something immediately and be the best at it, no interest.
All right.
And I think that's interesting because it's time and day that we live in, but it's also, they're missing out on something, And I remember times I went out for a sports team and didn't make it. And that disappointment is actually what fueled you.
Exactly. Such a good point. Yeah. You're like, I got to get better. Instead of being bitter, I got to get better.
Got to get better. Yeah. John, you have been awesome. I'm going to, in the interest of time, we're coming up to the top of the hour again. I'm going to kind of close things up by running you through what we call our gauntlet of 5 questions.
All right.
They're 5 really easy questions, and just share what comes to your mind first. And,
Okay.
and we'll get the show notes done and record these. And then afterwards, I'll give you an opportunity to share where people can find you and connect with you and Nadia moving forward.
Okay.
All right. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Question number 1. My purpose is?
To help people.
To help people. I love it. Question number 2. My vision is?
Ooh, my vision is help 1 million network marketers.
That's a lofty goal. There's a lot of them out there waiting for some help.
Well, it's funny too, because indirectly we're probably close to that number, just because how many people are now using the ATM system. They're teaching their teams how to launch their business on social media, how to be a content creator. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we've already impacted, obviously indirectly, 500,000 network marketers, just because there's so many marketers now doing the things that we figured out over the last 6, 7, 8 years, where maybe they learned from us, but like they learned from their like upline or owner who learned from us. Right. So yeah, it's I really like, obviously I know there's lots of ways to make money, but dude, there's just something special about network marketing. And I know I said this before, but I'll say it again. It's the only profession where the more you work on yourself, the more successful you become. And it's the only industry where that's encouraged, like to work on yourself. Like I don't remember when I was in real estate, when I was a mortgage banker, insurance, like all those other things I've done. I don't remember them ever talking about reading books or working on yourself and your mindset. It was all about skills. It wasn't about mindset.
I wish, not to digress, you and I talked earlier about some of the myths and misconceptions that are out there about network marketing. If there was one thing that I wish the world could know about network marketing, it's what you just said.
Yeah.
The better you become as an individual, the more personal development you do, the more successful you become. I think if more people realized that was the model to be successful, you'd have a lot more people jumping in and taking the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
Great.
They immediately think because their brothers, cousins, aunts, uncles, neighbors, best friends, dog did this, they just are like, it's a scam because they did it and it didn't work. And they were like doing all these meetings and stuff. And that's why I'm trying to help with elevating the profession. There's a lot of us out there that are doing the same thing, right? Just like you guys are doing with your rocket recruiting and this podcast. Like your job is to help elevate the profession so that we are, as Eric says, more professional, and realizing that we need to hold ourselves to a higher standard, because the truth is we as an industry, as a profession, we don't have a great reputation. And a lot of that is earned. A lot of that we deserve.
Unfortunately, you're right. But it does have a tipping point. And I think we're getting very close to that right now with you and Nadia and some of the other leaders that you mentioned. All right. Question number 3. I am.
I am. Geez, these are fun questions, but it's like they're all deep. You know what I'm saying? It's like
that's why we didn't.
I'm a multipreneur that loves helping people. I'll just keep going back to helping people. I'm a multipreneur that loves helping people, and I love being a dad. I'm sorry.
Yeah. All right, there you go. Yeah. Depends on who's in the room.
Yeah.
All right. Excellent. Question number 4. We're getting close. It all comes down to
flexing that hustle muscle.
Flex that hustle. I'm writing that down. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, look, at the end of the day, if you can outwork the competition, you won't have much competition. And I've been doing this 20 years. And I can't tell you how many people I've met over the years that were, top producers, edified, they're not in the industry anymore. Like even my own, like the guy that got me into network marketing, my own sponsor that got me in 20 years ago, he is not in network marketing anymore. Like just outlast, outwork, outproduce, outgive the competition. I still do more videos on social media than just about any network marketer I know, and I don't need to anymore.
Right. It's because you like to give and you feed your community. And I think that's why you guys have had continued success.
It becomes addicting. You become obsessed with it. You're like, I love to give. I love to like, just, be that person that somebody goes, it's because of you that I changed my life, because of you and your story and your tips. Like I'm where I am today. Like I can't think of anything that's more fulfilling than that.
Well, and it speaks to the type of human you are also. You kind of have the secret sauce to how to be successful. There are some people that get to the top of a mountain and they're like, that's my sauce. I'm not sharing that sauce.
Well, that's why I'm so glad it took so long. That's why I'm so glad it took as long as it did. Because if I would have got here fast, I would not have the appreciation and gratitude. Because I know what I've been through to get here.
That's right. Yeah, you do. You've got the war wounds to show for it.
Yeah.
All right.
MLM PTSD.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. There's a diagnosis for it.
Yeah.
All right. Final question. What I understand best is
People.
I love that answer. Well, I don't think we've had anybody answer people right now in the entire time.
I mean, I feel like, and Nadia talks about this, like, I just feel like I'm really good at reading people, understanding people, knowing how to communicate. Now, like, my team loves me because I know how to communicate and listen, and I have empathy when I got to have empathy. I've got, I give guidance when they need guidance, motivation when they need motivation. I coach them through things like I understand people. And I feel like, because I'm very intuitive when it comes to understanding situations, and I've been through so many situations myself, but also I've helped so many people in different circumstances, that, like, I feel I have a pretty good grasp on people. And I think, if you really want to be successful in this profession, you want to play the long game, you want to have longevity, because it doesn't matter if you make a lot of money and a pop and drop, right?
Right.
But people, like relationships and caring about people, Gary Vee talks about this more than anybody. The number one marketing tip is caring. So if you care about people and you can read people, you can know people, not in a way to manipulate, but in a way to help and serve, and know that, like, hey, like, whatever you're dealing with, whatever circumstance you're in, like, I can, at least, see your perspective and kind of give you my own opinion on what you could do to improve it.
I love it. John, and you can clearly see it, and you have an incredible amount of energy. I love the videos that you put out. And I think what ultimately makes people successful is when they remove their salesperson hat and put on their service hat. And you, I think, are living the body of that. Like you said, you don't need to do videos. You don't need to be out there teaching and showing people, but I think it's that commitment to do that really, really makes a difference. And I think it's why people love you guys. I think you've built an incredible organization. You've done
Appreciate that
amount of good, and it's almost like you wish you could track everybody you'd impacted. McDonald's has that sign, billions of billions served, and in network marketing, you can see your hierarchy.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be cool to see a tree of everybody that at one point or another has benefited or watched something that you've put out? What a number that.
But I also think about, like, how many times I wanted to quit, or I think about the people that impacted me, and, like, if they would have quit, then they might not have impacted me, and then I might not be in the profession. Like, it really is a crazy deal when you start to think of it that way. Right. And whether it's a direct, impact or an indirect impact, it ultimately stem from a decision or a commitment. And I think part of the reason I still do what I do and the way I do it, like doing the interviews and doing the podcasts and doing the YouTube videos and the Facebook Lives and the trainings for my teams and all the things, like, I also want people to know what it really takes. Like, I think it's worth it, but I never tell anyone it's easy. Like, it ain't easy. It's just worth it. Yeah.
Right. I love it. Well,
John, I appreciate you having me on, Jeff. Thank you very much.
I'm so glad you guys did. You survived the 5-question gauntlet. Before we jump off real quick, where can people find you? Where they can connect with you? Would be the best place for people to go to connect with you?
I mean, Facebook, Instagram, they can message me there. They can follow me there. Those are Facebook and Instagram are two of the main platforms. And then, of course, they can go to our website. We have tons of free resources, training, YouTube channel, podcast. Our social media guide with scripts is ridiculous. I think it's one of the best free resources in all of network marketing. Obviously, I'm biased. That doesn't mean it's not true. Right. That's all on our website, mylifestyleacademy.com.
Excellent. So there you have it. We'll include that information in the show notes for all of you that want to connect with John and Nadia. Before we leave, one thing I want to talk about, we didn't mention this, is in addition to everything that these guys have done, the lives that they've changed, they continue to do that through their giving. And many of you know what we do with Rocket Recruiting and our alignment with Project Smile. John and Nadia are closely aligned with some charities that are doing amazing work. So if you'd like more information on what they're doing with Mana Relief, with the Last Wells, go to their website, My Lifestyle Academy. Learn how you can contribute, learn how you can be a part of what they're doing. And John, I just can't tell you thanks enough. I mean, I could have kept talking for 3 hours with you. Hopefully we can do this again sometime, but you have been awesome. Please keep doing the good work. And I really, really appreciate what you guys are doing. Have an awesome day.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, brother.
You got it. Thanks, everybody.
Have
a great day. Bye-bye.